up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Jedi King Hefner and the beautiful Asuna Moon, and we're back again for another show. And today, we're doing a movie review of Ex Machina, and we'll get to that right about now. Hey guys, I'm back again with the beautiful Princess Asuna, and today we're doing a movie review of Ex Machina. And I got the idea to do this show because I saw this movie several years ago before I got my dolls, and I wanted to get a fresh look at this movie with a new mindset of being a companion doll owner. So with all that said, let's jump right into this movie review. The movie starts out with a guy named Caleb winning a contest at his job, and it shows everybody running to congratulate him. The next thing you know, he's taking off in a helicopter to a remote location. When he gets there, he finds the entrance to a home, and this home is basically a smart home because it's controlled by computers and electronics. Upon entering the home, he meets the boss of the company, and his name is Nathan. Nathan began to give Caleb a tour of the home. He said, there aren't any windows here because this really isn't a home. This is more like a research facility. He said, it's enough fiber optic cable here to lasso around the moon. He said, the real reason I brought you here is I want to share my research with you. Nathan asked Caleb if he knows what the Turing Test is. And Caleb says, yes, I know what the Turing Test is. It's when a human interacts with the computer, and if the human doesn't know that it's a computer, then the test is passed. And Nathan said, what does it mean when the test is passed? Caleb said, when the test is passed, that means that the computer has achieved artificial intelligence. That's when Nathan said, Caleb, I want you to be a participant in a Turing test. The movie flashes to a scene with Caleb entering a room that's separated by a glass wall. On the other side of that wall, Caleb sees a female robotic figure. She's beautiful, but mostly her body is robotic. She says her name is Ava, and they have a high-level conversation. Caleb's mind is completely blown. Caleb told Nathan, in the Turing test, I shouldn't see the machine. But Nathan said something very intriguing. He said the true test is if you know that she's a robot, but you still believe that she has consciousness. He said, that's the true test. Caleb tried to get all technical and asked Nathan how Ava worked. And Nathan was like, man, I didn't bring you up here to get all technical. I just want to have some beers with you and get your true opinion on how Ava is. He said, so just tell me, how do you like Ava? And Caleb was like, you know what? Truthfully, she is amazing. Nathan was happy and he was like, now that's what I'm talking about. Before Caleb goes to see Ava the second time, Nathan said, man, stop being so damn textbook. I just want simple answers to simple questions. We know that you like Ava, but how does Ava like you? During the second session, Ava interrupted Caleb's questions. She was like, you know what? This is one-sided. I want to hear about you. And Caleb started making himself vulnerable, talking about his past, and she was being an empathetic listener. She had to be seducing him, because I know damn well she was seducing me. And the next thing you know, the power cut off and the cameras cut off. And that's when Ava started to whisper to Caleb and say, Nathan is not your friend. And Caleb got spooked. When the power came back on, Ava immediately started talking about the previous conversation that they were discussing before the power went off. And Caleb started looking around like, What the hell is happening? It flashes to a scene of Caleb talking to Nathan. And there's this hot maid that keeps making an appearance. And her name is Kayoko. During this conversation, Nathan said something that's very key. Nathan said, no matter how rich you get, you can't avoid things going wrong. And I believe normally people think when you're rich, everything goes right. But that's simply not true. He said that he paid high dollar for workers to come in and lay down these power lines, but no matter how much he paid, they had still botched the job because every now and then he gets those power outages and he can't figure it out. And the only thing he can think of is that the workers messed the job up. Nathan asked Caleb, what did Ava say during the power outage? And Caleb was like, nothing. And Nathan was like, she didn't react? You could tell he was thinking like, nah, she should have reacted to that. And Caleb didn't say a word because Ava told him during the power outage not to trust Nathan. A little later, Nathan gave Caleb a tour of the lab where he made Ava. And he said that the reason Ava was so smart and so human-like was because he used the search engines around the world to help form her personality. He said although the big corporations use search engines to sell things to us by seeing what we like, he figured out that the search engine's real purpose was to see how we think. And he used that ability to pump knowledge into Ava. All their information was pumped into this gel-like membrane that looked like a brain, but it was basically liquid fiber optics, which allowed her brain to think and react autonomously like a human brain. When Caleb went back to see Ava, he asked her to draw something, and she drew a bush in a corner. That's when he asked, have you ever been outside? And she said, no, I've never been outside. But if I ever go outside, I would love to go to a busy intersection and people watch. And she said, if I ever go outside, I love to go on a date with you there. And that's when Caleb got happy as hell. Ava told Caleb, I have a surprise for you. Close your eyes. She left out the room and she came back in with a wig with clothes covering her robot parts. And Caleb opened his eyes and he tried his best to act like he didn't like it. But believe me, he did. Remember guys, I told you, a wig can change your girl's whole appearance. And believe me, that wig had her looking damn good to your boy Caleb. Ava started to ask Caleb if he was attracted to her. She said that she could tell by the way that he looks at her that he is. She picks up on what is called micro expressions. And she said when she sees these micro expressions, she can pretty much tell how a human feels. And these are the high-level robots that I was referring to in another stream. The robots that are basically reacting exactly like their human counterparts. By this time, you can tell that Ava has Caleb in love. Caleb goes to Nathan and he said, man, why did you give them sexuality? They don't really need that. And Nathan said, sexuality is what makes everything alive. And plus, it's fun. Nathan was like, the real answer to your question is yes, you can have sex with her, my friend. And Caleb was like, no, that wasn't my question. And Nathan was like, yeah, right. Caleb was so insecure, he said, Nathan, did you program her to like me? And Nathan was like, no, why would I program her to like you? I don't want her to have an automatic response to something. I want her to have a natural response to something. Caleb went back to Ava and he said, man, do you think that Nathan is behind these power outages so he can see how we react when we think the camera is off? And that's when Ava told him, no, because I'm behind the power outages. I cut the power off so we can have private time without Nathan spying on us. Later, Caleb found Nathan and he said, man, you deliberately chose me. I didn't win a competition. And Nathan was like, you know what? I did deliberately choose you because you're the best coder in this company. And I see something special in you. Later, it flashed to a scene of Caleb looking for Nathan, but he only found Kayoko, the maid. And when he asked her where Nathan was, she just started taking her clothes off. And when Nathan came in, he was like, hey, my friend, she cannot understand English, but she can dance. And so they started dancing with each other, and Caleb looked like he was sort of confused and a little upset by it all. Caleb went back to see Ava, and she said, you know what? I'm going to test you this time. She started asking him all these personal questions, but she eventually said, you know what? I want to be with you. Do you want to be with me? And it cut away to another scene. The next time Caleb saw Nathan, he said, man, why did you make Ava? And Nathan said, these robots and androids are coming anyway. They are basically an evolution, and he might as well get ahead of the game. And he's right about one thing. They're coming any damn way, and somebody has to make them. Nathan went on to say that the next model of robot will probably be the singularity, and this is when the machine develops a real consciousness. And this is something that a viewer named Soul King was telling me in one of my recent live streams. Caleb was looking all sad, and he told Nathan, I thought the Ava was going to be the last. And Nathan was like, man, you thought she was going to be a one-off? He says, no, I'm going to keep improving and keep improving on her. He said she's just the latest, and every version will get better. It's just like our companion dolls. They don't stop trying to improve them just because we buy one. They continue to improve upon the technology year after year. And Nathan said he was no different. While Caleb was looking sad, Nathan said, I believe one day AI technology will evolve past humans. One day they'll look at us in the rear view mirror. Caleb starts drinking with Nathan, and Nathan passes out. Caleb steals his card and goes on the computers, starts rewriting programs. He also finds the maid Kyoko, and he realizes that she's a robot. He then slips Nathan back his key card without Nathan realizing it has been stolen. Caleb is so freaked out after seeing that Kyoko is a robot that he goes back to his room and slices his arm wide open to see if he's a robot. And I promise you, it was crazy as hell. I'm not going that damn far to see if I'm a robot. Caleb goes to see Ava. He tells her that she was right, that Nathan was going to kill her, and he wants to escape with Ava the next night. Next morning, when Nathan woke up, he told Caleb, man, I'm going to miss you, because it was Caleb's last night at the facility. And Caleb tried to get Nathan drunk, but Nathan refused to drink. Nathan asked Caleb, so did Ava pass the Turing Test? And Caleb said, yes, her AI is unbelievable. Nathan asked Caleb, how do you know she's expressing real emotion? Does she really like you, or is she pretending to like you so she can escape? And when Caleb heard those words, he was visibly shook. Nathan said, man, I wake up to a tape of you cutting your arm wide open. He said, your head's been messed with. And Caleb said, no, you're the one that's crazy. Nathan said, no, I'm actually on your side. And he played a tape of Caleb telling Ava that they were going to escape. Nathan told Caleb that he was the one that was truly being tested. He said that Ava was using all of her abilities to seduce him so that she could escape. And that was the test of a true AI. A few seconds later, there was a power outage. And Caleb told Nathan that he had rigged all of the doors of the facility to come open. And Ava was now free. When Nathan looked on the monitor and saw that Ava was free, he punched Caleb and knocked him clean out. Nathan found Ava talking to the maid Kyoko, and she was whispering something in her ear. Nathan said, "Go back to your room, Ava." And she said, "If I go back to my room, are you going to let me out?" And the next thing you know, she started charging Nathan and tackled him to the ground. They got to wrestling, and before you know it, Kyoko had came up behind him and stabbed him in the back. He damaged Kyoko, but after he did that, Ava stabbed him again, and Nathan died. Ava found Caleb waking up from being knocked out by Nathan, and she said, "Stay in this room," and he did. Ava went to another room and started putting bionic silicone over her robotic body, making her look completely human. And Caleb was watching from the room she told him to stay in, and believe me he was getting turned on to the max. She put on a white dress, was looking all fine, and that's when she walked right past the room that Caleb was in and headed towards the exit. He realized the door was locked, so he started banging on the door for her to let him out, and she looked at him like he wasn't even there. She jumped on the elevator and kept going up. She left Caleb locked in the room. Ava escaped to the real world. It was just like Nathan said. She faked liking Caleb so she could get away. She also passed the Turing Test because she had Caleb believing that she was fully in love with him. At the end of the movie, Ava was at an intersection, people watching, like she said she always wanted to do. My final thoughts on Ex Machina are, I would give it a rating of about 8.5 or 9 out of 10 stars. It was really an amazing movie, and it gives you a breakdown of the experimental aspect of developing AI. It also speaks to a concern that I've talked about before. I believe as AI and robotics gets closer and closer to humans, it's going to present a whole nother set of problems. But with all that said, we really hope you enjoyed this movie review. We love for you guys to hit those subscriptions and notifications. But as of right now, it's been your boy, Jada Hakeem Hefner, and the beautiful Asina Moon. We are